I've been living here 79 years. Our company's been here since 1926 at this same location. My grandfather started this business in, we guess, 1890. At that time, there wasn't records kept. But he used to haul mill products and farm products and things like that, including moving. That's a 1939 Ford, which we had for maybe 7, 8, 9 years. That was a 15, 16 footer, and we used it primarily in them days for hauling of new furniture. Those trucks there in the middle are newer model trucks. That truck, the body was made by a person named Lawrence Collins, helped by my father, Samuel Smith. I started working around when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I was working for my father, and we wound up working 6 days a week. We worked 6 days a week, and I worked so much through my life that when we got a day off or a holiday, it was well deserved. Samuel Smith had 5 sons and 2 daughters, and they all worked within the business for a while. I'm the only one that stuck with it. Ronald decided to go out on his own. We resolved that issue, and Sammy Smith Jr., he died at an early age. My father passed in 1985. Since that time, I have been in charge of the business. My sister helped me until her death, and she passed in 1992, I believe, 1995. She did all the secretarial work and everything. But right now it's just me. My son Herbie is the next in charge. In the event of my demise, Herbie would be the next person in charge. Since 1939 that I can remember, our trucks, we used to get a truck every 4 or 5 years. We would get a new truck. But since 2007, we haven't purchased any new truck. That's an indication that the economy is hurting everybody. It's hurting us especially because we've been in business, and we have been paying our bills up to this point, and now some of our bills are going unpaid. My grandparents were all members of the Campbell AME Church, and my father was a member of Campbell AME Church. I'm a member of Campbell AME Church, and my son is a member of Campbell AME Church, as well as my wife and other children. The church is the foundation of this neighborhood. Second Baptist and St. Thomas, especially, they were instrumental in early Frankford. In the 40s, there was a preacher by the name of J.C. King. He was a preacher at Second Baptist Church in Frankford at Mulberry Meadow Street. He was there for a number of years. His wife was also a member of Second Baptist, and during them days, there was only one J.C. King. He died at a very old age. And another thing I like to say is that during the before the Second World War, there were people like James Winston and his wife, Carrie Winston, and there was Amanda Dammons. She had the Undertaker home at Mulberry and Plum Street, And it was a terrific undertaking. She was the first female mortician in the city of Philadelphia. In them days, she had 2 children. One was Jack, and the other was, I can't think of her name, but she was instrumental in the business. Sarah Chase. She's one of the founding mothers of this area. She had a bunch of children, and they are members or former members of Campbell AME Church. One of them was Miss Carrie Taylor, who accompanied Marian and Anderson when she played in Washington in 1939, when she played for the Daughters of the American Revolution. She was a piano player for Marian Anderson. So that's very important, and it should be noted. Another person was her other daughter, who was Helen Harmon, who had 4 boys, 3 boys, 1, 2, 3, 3 boys, and 2 girls, 3 girls, I'm sorry. And of those, all of them were members of Campbell AME Church, and all of them were professional people. One was a mathematician, like. One of them was engineer, and one of them was air controller. And that whole family has died out in the last 40 years. Another person I would like to bring out is Dr. Presley. Dr. Presley was a dentist. He had his business on Frankford Avenue, and he moved to Overington Street in the late 30s. And he was a very sincere person. He was like a king of doctors, you might say. He was just a nice man, and him and his wife both were good people. And he was instrumental in Frankfurt and ACP and all the other activities that took place. In 1840, there was a Negro school built next door, and it was called Wilmot, W-I-L-M-O-N-T. And that school was the first Negro school in Philadelphia to be built brand up from the ground up. And a lot of kids went there, including my father. There's an iron fence that's something important. There's an iron fence that goes around that school that was put there right around 1840. Around 1840. And that same iron fence is standing today. They tore down half of it. They tore down more than half of it when the new houses were put on Melbury Street. But the part of that fence is still standing, and it's very historical. And if anybody don't believe it, they can come down to 1740 Meadow Street, and they can see part of it right now. I always marveled at it. The iron in that fence is just like it was put there yesterday. It never depreciated or anything. But that's something that most people don't know. That fence has been there for, I'm not picking on a fence, but it's just the idea that iron nowadays, if you get iron nowadays, if it lasts 30 years, you're lucky. Because it just depreciates and falls apart. I'm the president of the Frankford Chargers Sports Association, which primarily started with football. And we have been in this area for 44 years. We have won a number of city-wide championships, and we even won a national championship in 2008. That's the same as the Super Bowl of Sandlot football. And we won that in Florida. We got a sign up there, welcome to the neighbor, welcome to Frankford. And if you can add to that anything you want to add to it, welcome to historical Frankfurt. Because there was a cemetery over there where the basketball court is over there, and it had many soldiers from different wars. And when I go back to the 40s, I can remember back when they used to tell me that there were Revolutionary War veterans. There was a War of 1812. Buffalo soldiers were buried over there, right on the corner of Meadow, Hawthorne, and Melbury. When we were young, we used to tell the girls when we go out to come to Frankfurt because it was a land of honey. And at that time, you could buy anything you wanted on Frankfurt Avenue in a line of household, clothes, food, anything you would want. Top-notch fashion model furniture, fashion model clothing, shoes, fashion, hats, anything you wanted, you could get on Frankfurt Avenue in a day when we call Frankfurt the land of honey. Frankfurt, in my opinion, is still the land of honey.